Okay, everyone, we are still looking at compound interest. We are now getting into what we call, the higher level questions. So these ones are a little bit harder to follow sometimes. It's still compound. We still start in the same sort of process. So we have a look at the question. We read through it. We look for that magic word. So we are looking at compound. Okay. We read through the question again, looking for the important information. So 2 years ago, that could be important. Tan placed $8,300 in investment paying compound interest with quarterly rests. If his money has grown to $9,500, what interest has he been earning? So when we look at this, the first thing should stand out to you really quickly is there is no interest rate told anywhere. So this question is going to be about finding the interest rate. Still start the same way. We still always write down our formula. We still write down the information we know. So, this is where we've got to get used to the language. 2 years ago, Tam placed 8,300. So that's what it was 2 years ago. Okay? So that means that's what it started as, which is a principal. It had quarterly rest, so we know that K is going to be 1 over 4, because quarterly means 4 times a year, so 1 over 4. It's grown to 9,500. What's the only way it could grow? It got interest. So therefore, amount plus principal plus interest is amount. So the 9,500 is our amount. And T, well, it was 2 years ago till now, so T will be 2. And obviously, the thing which is standing out as not being here is our interest rate. So, again, we start this question in a similar fashion. We fill in what we know. The amount is 9,500. The principal is 8,300. 1 plus R, which is what we don't know, so leave it as R. 1 over 4 times by 100. The power of 1 over 4. Okay, so I made a mistake here. Go back, it's not 1 over 4, it is 4SP. Sorry about that. So, 4 times 100 to the power of 4 times by 2. We solve as much as we can and we end up with 9,500 equals 8,300, 1 plus R over 400 to the power of 8. This is where the order becomes really important, so please make sure you follow this order. The first thing we have to get rid of is the 8,300. So remember, there's a little multiply in here, which we don't normally put in. So the opposite of multiply is divide. So we end up with 9,500 divided by 8,300 equals 1 plus R over 400 to the power of 8. So that's our starting point. So we need to go and type that in our calculator. So 9,500 divided by 8,300, and we get 1.446. This is another case where trying to keep the number in your calculator is a good idea because it can really drastically change your answer at the end. Okay? So when we look at it, we now have to get rid of this 8 up here. Now, it's to the power of 8, so you may never have actually ever done this before in your calculator. So here they see, just for the moment. Now, you need to look at your calculator, and what you will see is the one where we do to the power of, so that X little box, we want the symbol above it. So what we need you to do is hit Shift, and then that X little box. And you'll see that you have something. I'm just going to draw it up on the board on the top right up here. It should look something like this. That's what we're hoping for. Okay? Now, what's going to happen is, the thing raised to the power, you need to fill in this box. And in the bottom box, we need to put in the answer we had before. So we put 8 in the little box, and we go to the bottom box and hit the answer button. Then we hit equals. And hopefully, if you've typed that in all correctly, you should have 1.017 equals. Sorry about these things popping up sometimes. 1 plus r over 400. Sorry, you don't need the brackets anymore. Okay, so we're getting close. I know it's a very long question. I'm just going to scroll the scroll actually. We're going to keep going, but obviously I'm running out of board space, so I'm going to start writing up here. Okay. So the next thing I need to do is get rid of the 1. So I end up with 1.017. Now it's plus 1 down here. So I'm going to have to do the opposite, which is take 1. So I end up with 0.017 is r over 400. Now, it's r divided by 400, so I again will do the opposite. So I'm going to multiply by 400. So if we do all that, we should end up with 6.8%. There may be some very slight variation on that percentage because of things like rounding. When it comes to an exam, okay, you need to be consistent, and if you have all the working out like what I've shown, so you're showing exactly what you know what you're doing, we can accept some minor variations in the answer because of that rounding issue. Okay, alrighty, so that's the finding the interest rate with compound interest.